Hi. Uh, I said over the past couple of videos that I will continue to talk about the different parts of the book, Touch and Go, and how this could be of importance to other people that have suffered or have supported people that have suffered from COVID over the past couple of years. And unfortunately, because a lot more people are going to suffer, the new variant is doubling by day with the infections. And of course, we've had the first notification of death via this new variant. We must be increasingly vigilant, and I'm pleased with the degree of caution to the way that we have now been required to wear masks in public spaces, and in some where a vaccine passport is required to get into. I would, of course, like to see more rigorous approaches to the control of this. The vaccination program is good in its own right, but it's not necessarily going to be the solution to all the problems. Anyway, back to the book. At the last video, I talked about what it was like in January and how basically that became a month of vagueness, and much of it still comes back to me. When I get towards the middle part of the book, I'll explain how some of the memories of January and 6 months prior to that had been distorted by the dream worlds that I lived in when I was coming out of the coma. And the second and third chapters of the book cover the coma period of February. Now, I was put into an induced coma at the end of January, and it was something of a troubling experience, partly because in my memory I do remember being visited by my two sons, Kieran and Liam, my wife Glenn, and our granddaughter Chanel, and I remember those visits. And I remember being quite calm about it and knowing that the odds of coming out of the coma were not good at all. But I needed to go into that coma. Now, the thing about this is that at this point, you're looking at something that is impacting really, really severely on the loved ones. Try and put yourself in their position, in that they are coming into a situation where their father, their husband, their grandfather is potentially not going to come out of this situation alive. For the next few weeks, nearly 4 weeks, when I'm in the coma, this gets even worse. Remembering that at the time of January of 2021, we were very much in lockdown and people could not go and visit each other. Glenn kept a diary of everything that was said and done during that period, and much of this was about taking the notes that were required so that she could then convey the information to everyone else. She's having to stay focused on that, and so throughout that period, much of those diary notes begin with my blood oxygen levels, my oxygen levels, and how critical they got at different times. At one point, something like 7 days into the coma, and she gets a phone call from a consultant saying that she needed to prepare for Michael's end of life. Those were the words. Now imagine receiving those words. You're here in a house, you're on your own, it's winter, it's dark, it's cold, it's the most awful time, and there's no one to hug you, there's no one to say, there, he'll pull through, let's fight. Everything's being done by text and phone calls, and she's on her own. And she then needs to distribute that information first. As we all agreed, it was going to go via my eldest son, and he was going to then distribute, so they split the distribution of information, and they had to keep that as honest as possible, of clear integrity, so that everyone understood exactly what was going on. And they had that responsibility, a husband, a father, and they are the ones that have to inform everyone. The difficulty that they went through, the horrendous time they went through, was being lived through by many others at the same period. It's being lived through now by others. And this is something that I really want to get across, that it's not just the person that is at the centre of this, that is suffering. At the time, I was oblivious to all of this. I'm in a coma. I don't know what's going on. But they are seeing me. They're seeing a person occasionally through video. That was later in the day, but they're hearing news. Michael's feet are purple. We've got a blood circulation problem. We may have blood clots on the lungs. We may have blood clots in the legs. We can't check. He's too ill for a scan, too ill to go. His oxygen level is now artificial. He's now being pumped in at 90%. We can't do any more. Oxygen's improving. Now he's got pneumonia. This is the kind of news that people were receiving during that almost 4-week period. And there's nothing that they can do other than take that news, comfort each other as best as they possibly could. This I would not wish on my worst enemy. This is something from a horror story that was our life, that was their life at the time. Remembering I'm unconscious, I know nothing about this. I know nothing about this until I wake up, and some weeks later when I'm becoming a little more compos mentis and people are starting to talk to me about that period. And when I did come through, when I did get that information, it was so difficult to deal with. So I want to get it over to people, and I want to use this particular video to emphasize what that coma period was like for my family, is like for many other families, and will be like for more people in the coming months, maybe years. But for quite a time ahead of us, we have got this to deal with. Let's talk about it. It's good to talk. I'll make another video shortly about the dream world that I lived in the coma, what it was like for me coming out of the coma, because that was another horror story to be had. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening to these, and I hope that people will contribute their stories to this particular group. Please do. It's worth releasing that information, and I say that from the heart. It's worth talking about it. It's done me a hell of a lot of good. So if you're someone that's suffered, someone that's suffering, someone that's a family member that has coped with and supported someone that's suffering, please have your say. Cheers. See you soon. Bye.